Hello, welcome to this your channel of the Eurofan. That's me. France is right now on a quite sweet phase in the competition, proving that they are still one of the heavyweights with each edition. A good proof of that was the fantastic and heartfelt proposal presented by Louane during last year's contest, with which he has achieved a magnificent 4th place in the final ranking. It is true that the country is still eager on winning the contest again, although there was the challenge on if the next artist could equal or surpass the mark achieved by him, which was quite difficult already, but they do not lose anything on trying it. For this, we will see who has followed his steps by waving the French colors on the main stage of Basel. Here we go. For today's episode, I'm going to review the French entry for Eurovision 2025, which has been represented by the singer Louane with the song Maman, which in English translates as Mom. Before discovering more about this song that seems quite maternal, let's see more about this established artist in the French musical scene that now has get herself noticed to the rest of Europe. Having said this, let's move on with the review. We start by checking out her biography and career before leaving her Eurovision and venturing in neighboring Switzerland. Anne Pichet, mostly well known as Louane Emera or just Louane, is a French singer, songwriter and actress coming from the commune of Saint-Catherine, raised in the commune of Henny-Beaumont and located in northern France and currently living in the French capital, Paris. Her family roots are curiously quite mixed, as her father, born in France, is son of a German father and a Polish mother, and her mother, of Brazilian origin, is daughter of a Portuguese father and a Brazilian mother. And if it was not enough, she has a quite big family, as Louane has 4 sisters and 1 brother. She demonstrates a huge passion for music and singing since the age of 8, in which the support of her parents would be fundamental in her dream to become a professional singer. In fact, she would start to get herself noticed in 2008 by participating in the 2nd and last season of the French junior singing competition and reality show L'École des Stars, but 12 years by then, with which she was starting to showcase her talents in singing and performing. But she would really start to get much more noticed in 2013 with her participation in the 2nd season of the French version of The Voice. However, prior to her time in the singing competition, she had to face the tragic event of her father's death, to whom she would dedicate the song that she performed in the quarterfinals that was imagined by John Lennon in this case. It was actually her father's favorite song, and she also sang in his funeral before the show. She will be rescued by the audience after this performance, and although she will be eliminated thereafter in the semi-finals, her time at the competition will help her to get wide recognition among the public and in the musical industry of the country. Curiously, after that participation, Louane will also start to make incursions into the world of cinema in 2014, after the French director decided to include her in the cast of the French-Belgian comedy film La Famille Bélier in a lead role, having sang many songs from the renowned French singer and actor Michel Sardou as part of the film's soundtrack. That role granted her a nomination to César Awards, the renowned award ceremony to French cinema, winning the trophy for Most Promising Actress in the 14th edition of the awards the following year. That same year, her mother would pass away as well after a long battle against cancer, which would influence her musical style as singer and songwriter in the upcoming years. After those first steps as an actress, she will focus on developing her musical career since 2015, signing a contract deal with a world-renowned record label, with which she will release shortly after her debut studio album that became a sales success in her native country and neighboring Belgium and Switzerland, consolidating herself in a very short time as one of the most promising artists in the francophone musical scene. With the years, she will be alternating her singing and acting phases, even also becoming a dubbing actress, giving her voice to many characters in the French adaptations of many animated films. In the first months of 2017, she will be invited to collaborate in one of the tracks of the debut studio album of the American electronic music duo The Chainsmokers. Then later in the middle of that same year, she takes part of the cast for the French drama film Nous Patriotes, having a mother temporary success in the box office of the country, and later that year she will release her eponymous second studio album, with which she was presenting a more mature sound, as well as tracks featuring other French artists, and also being a sales success in the country. She will have her second leading role a year after in the French comedy film Les Infamés, which is different from the Canadian terror film of the same title premiered 1 year earlier, although however it had a quite poor performance in the box office of the country, which will maybe motivate her to take more roles as a dubbing actress onwards. Thereafter in 2020, she will release her third studio album, in which she explores different musical genres like electronic music and urban music, without losing her emotional lessons, which is very peculiar on her, being also the first musical production in which Louane is much more involved as a songwriter in many of the tracks of the album. In 2022, she will start to make incursion in many television projects. Firstly, she debuts as a television actress by having a leading role in the French dramas and suspense series, which will last only 1 season, and later she participated as one of the coaches in the 8th season of the French version of The Boys Kids, closing the year with the release of her fourth studio album, in which she blends contemporary pop with influences from electronic music and urban music already seen in her previous production, although from a more introspective and experimental perspective. The album will also have a special reissue released the following year with more unreleased tracks, some of them featuring other artists. More recently, she will get back to her roots somehow by participating during last year as a judge in the 6th season of the French version of the reality show Pop Stars, as she had her beginnings herself in a similar show, and shortly after that participation, Louane will release her 5th studio album, in which she presents a much more than a commercial pop sound in comparison to her previous works, being her most recent musical production to date. About her personal life, she has been diagnosed with ADHD, which she was a girl, which brought her many problems during her childhood, having to learn to manage it properly with the years, and since 2020 she has a relationship with the fellow French singer and multi-instrumentalist Florian Rossi, with which they have a small get together named Esme. It is clear that Louane has gained wide experience in all the phases she has done, although she often considers herself a singer rather than an actress, fundamentally focusing in her musical career as an artist, but she does not discard on participating in future roles as an actress if there is an opportunity to do so. Now, with this extensive profile of her, it is logical to wonder how she will end up being selected as the French representative at Eurovision without having any previous links with the contest. Let's see with more detail. While the French public broadcaster had confirmed its participation in August of last year, very few information surfaced in the following months, giving clues that they will opt likewise for an internal selection, as they have been doing in these recent years. Thereafter, after many French media outlets pointed out Louane as a representative that will travel to Basel, the broadcaster confirmed its selection officially in last January, although we will have to wait until mid-March to know the song, and the way they have done the premiere was curious. During the final rugby match between France and Scotland in the Six Nations Championship, she will perform her entry live for the very first time in the halftime interval in front of more than 80,000 people at Stade France. This has been interesting to say the least, because maybe it was the first time that the French entry for the contest was being presented in such tremendous way, with pyrotechnics included, as she was joined by a big martial band at the Field Stadium, while she was on a platform hanging in the middle of the stadium during all the performance. If they were the first ones on announcing artists, song and music video by surprise on last year, this time they have been again of the last ones on revealing its entry. Shortly after the release of the track Lie at the Rugby Championship, she will work in the recording and production of the official music video that will be released on late last April. And homage to her passed-away mother transcending generations. Let's see more detail of this heartfelt proposal with which she has participated at the contest, which had 2 versions. This was because originally there was already a song titled Maman performed by herself that was also one of the singles of her debut studio album 10 years ago. In this first version, however, she did not intervene directly as a songwriter, but it was written by a duo of French songwriters for her, as it has a sadder and more melancholy melancholic contest, which is quite normal and logical since it was also dedicated to her mother who had passed away very recently by then. With the release of the new version, the first one will be delisted from the streaming platforms in favor of the latter one, and then now I will analyze right up next. The melody is a ballad with instrumental elements of a martial band, as it could be appreciated during the release of the track, where the piano is undoubtedly the main musical instrument. The vocal skills from Louane are undeniable, especially for those who have followed her career throughout these years, coming back in this case to her distinctive, emotional and authentic style for what she has departed in her latest studio album, reassuming in this way her true essence as a performer. It is remarkable that at the very end of the track, the last Maman is sung by her daughter Esme, which resulted in a quite tender detail by giving her a brief prominence in the song. Talking about the lyrics, they have been written fully in French, this time by Louane herself, unlike the first version, together with one of the songwriters who wrote the first lyrics of the song by then, which has been part of the working team of Louane since she started her career as a musical artist. The context behind it is already known, as I have commented before, but taking into account that now she has two songs with the same title, about this new version she has commented. It's a sequel, of course. There are a few words in common between the two, but there are two different songs. For the first time, I'm finally well, and this new song exists for that reason. I'd like to be the only thing we remember rather than dwelling on the past. In fact, if we read both lyrics, previously translated of course, the new version makes many references to the first version from 10 years ago. While the first version is notably sad, matching with that dual phase she was going through then, this new version is much more upbeat, narrating how has been her life after her death, having found love in the process and especially after becoming a mother herself, making an intergenerational bridge in the song between her mother, Louane herself, and her daughter. The message transmitted with the song is quite important as it symbolizes the closure of a very intense dual process for her in the case has lasted for a decade, now feeling in peace with herself and even more that she is already living the experience of motherhood. It is true that it's not easy for anyone to lose his parents at a very early age, in which everyone has its own way to deal with the duel and it will take as much time as necessary, but the meaning of the lyrics is very remarkable because two cannot last forever one way or another. While we could breathe and we are healthy, we had to move forward and resume our lives in the end. I suddenly think that it will be their advice if they will have the opportunity to do so. Having seen more of this moving proposal, let's see now how she has reflected the context described with this new version of the track through the official music video. The plot begins with shots from inside a house while the first verse is heard, moving slowly to the living room where it is Louane, surrounded by furniture covered in fabrics to protect them from the dust. From here, it could be deducted that it will recreate what it would have been at the family house where she grew up, by visiting it again after many years abandoned. Thereafter, Louane takes out the fabric of one of the furniture in front of her that turns out to be a dollhouse, seeing for a brief instant the label hang on it which reads Louane Maman, implying that it will be the dollhouse given by her mother to her when she was little. Shortly after, Louane starts to look inside the dollhouse by one of the windows, and then the shot changes, like she was looking at herself as a child in the past while he playing with the dolls in her bedroom. With the first chorus, there are many general shots and close-ups of Louane while she is performing the child sitting next to the dollhouse. And although I had not commented it initially, from the beginning of the track it is seen that the whole lyrics has English subtitles. This is an unusual action of French entries as they are usually rude to tell language, but I do not see bad this detail, especially for those who are not familiar with French. For the second verse, she is seen singing in other areas of the house like the kitchen or what it will be her bedroom, while there are shots of the cloud in the wall of the living room which can suddenly start to spin very fast in the opposite direction. I get that this intends to represent her willing to going back in time to those moments in which she was having good times with her family when she was a girl, that many of us would like to do it as well like her. Shortly after, the shot goes back to those instances in which Louane sees herself as a girl inside the dollhouse, with the latter one turning around to make visual contact with Louane. Thank goodness this is fiction, because otherwise there will be a tremendous butterfly effect. Seeing additionally how the hands of the small cloud inside that bedroom in the dollhouse start to spin very fast in opposite direction as well. The different shots of Louane in the different areas of the house continue by the second chorus, adding other ones in which she is sitting in front of an electric piano in another part of the house. And as long as the performance is getting much more intense, noticeable especially in the emotional latitude for Louane from the different parts of the house, the clock is spinning much faster in the opposite direction, again reinforcing that willing of going back in time, although in some moment during that close-up of the clock it ends up breaking. This is quite striking as it will represent that turning point in Louane's life by finally having closed that cycle that kept her tied to the past, feeling herself ready to overcome the duel and move forward with her life. For the final chorus, the same intensity is kept by Louane during the performance, while the different shots over all the house alternate, adding other ones of herself as a girl sitting on the dining table and taking breakfast, to later see her sitting at that same table. In the end is what happens when you visit the place where you grew up. 10 memories of so many moments lived that come to your mind, recreating feelings of melancholy and nostalgia. Then later, Louane starts to arrange and fix the bedroom inside the dollhouse, noticing for an instant how the clock inside that bedroom suddenly stops from spinning its hands in opposite direction, thereafter covering the dollhouse with pink paper and writing that new label that reads Pour me Maman. The music video finishes with her and her daughter removing together the white ribbon from the dollhouse that now Louane has now given her. After the official presentation of the proposal, she was also presented in live, although in just one of the Eurovision pre-parties of the season, opting for a simple performance, showing the lyrics translated to English in the visual graphics just like in the official music video. For the staging in Basel, it can be seen during the first rehearsals that it is quite simple, where basically two things stood out: Louane herself wearing a black dress and a lot of scent. Initially, this wasn't understood for many people, although the delegation will clarify later that the use of the scent pretends to symbolize the passage of time, obviously in allusion to hourglasses, so there were expectations on how it would look ahead of the performance. A part of it, the lighting is right and precise, and it is of the few proposals that have not used any visual graphics at all. Watching her live performance in the grand final, it begins with Louane lying on the floor holding a spinning hourglass that turns around and let it drop shortly after while she is performing the first verse. She sings stirring her hands in the sand in many different shots while a stream of sand falls next to her with a losing visual contact with the camera in any moment. I get that she intended to portray the passage of time as stated initially. In the end, every second, every moment, every instant is unique and incomparable, especially if we talk about the time we spend with our beloved ones, and in this particular case with our mothers. She stands out with the first chorus without stopping interacting with the string of sand until she kneels on the floor while she calls her mother by singing. The dynamic remains quite similar by the second verse, standing on feet initially, although there is a moment when Louane kneels down again to make a hole among the sand in the floor, seeing her reflection for a few instants until she gets off of the floor again by the second chorus. The dynamic seems to remain similar, but then in the big moment when she calls the mother again by singing, now there is a huge proportion of sand behind her, sometimes with smoke. Then for the final chorus, now there are streams of sand falling in spiral while she keeps singing in the middle of those streams. I guess she has swallowed too much sand in the process, but even so it seems that it has not affected in her performance at all. Having instances of high vocal intensity in the final parts, closing the performance with a close-up of her while her daughter sings the last Maman, looking herself very emotional. I have to say that it has been a well-done performance in general terms. She has transmitted spontaneity and about everything a lot of emotion all the time. In fact, I had the perception that every time she was calling her mother in the song, it was sounded different. It was noticed the emotion loaded in each one of those calls, and you cannot expect less taking into account what has been for her releasing all those feelings and emotions gathered throughout all these years to finally finally feel herself free, lighter, and especially encouraged to move forward for her daughter. The only thing that has not matched for me in this performance was the part of the propulsion of Sam behind her with the second chorus. I do not know if I am the only one who has thought the same, but for me it was like she was having a really bad time with something that would have upset her stomach. I guess you will know what I'm talking about. Honestly, this was wrong for me, and I think they could have done this part much better, especially after the peak moment of the song. Beyond this, I did not have any doubts that she was about to get a very good result. Initially, with the bottom result, she would have been very appreciated by the jury after placing third, so there were very high chances on that she could even win the contest. However, after revealing the points she would receive with the televote, this would not be enough to grant her the victory, getting down a few positions in the ranking to finally settle in the 7th place. Making a summary of all the comments, the French entry for this year is especially moving and very beautiful. I like the fact that this proposal has represented the closure of a cycle for her by doing a heartfelt homage to her passed away mother in a more positive way, and most importantly, expressing herself with the authenticity and emotion that are distinctive for her, details that have been crucial for the proposal to captivate the audience. It came to my mind, for instance, that she could get the victory while the results were revealing, taking into account that a song also dedicated to a mother won many months ago at the junior contest by Georgia, and I thought that it could be an omen for that so much desired victory for the Gallic country, but that in the end it has not happened. Certainly the final result does not equal the one got by Louane on last year, but even so it has been a magnificent and well-presented proposal that surely will be reminded for many thanks to the high emotional component it has and what has represented for a lot of people. About Louane, she has moved forward with her musical artist facet. Shortly before her participation in Eurovision, she will release her first compilation album of greatest hits, where it has been included as unedited tracks, the song with which she has participated in the contest, and this same song on its English version, being released as well with the official music video of this version in the Anglo-Saxon language. It was also known that she announced her engagement with Florian last June, so surely they will be focused on planning her upcoming wedding at the same time with their respective musical careers, predictably for the next year, so maybe we will not see her too much on the stages, at least until she's officially married and starts to write new music for a subsequent studio album in the near future. This has been the first proposal this year for the contest. What do you think about it? Has this proposal moved you, or it has been one more battle in your case? Whatever is your opinion, let me know in the comments down below, so I'm sure that the discussion will be quite interesting. And this is it for today's episode. If this video has been of your taste, then take a few moments to give a like so you can help by supporting me for this content to reach more people. Subscribe to my channel and enable notifications by hitting the bell, and through my social media you can also find me. Take care and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.